Choose Hope. Breaking the Cycle of Domestic Violence Together is brought to you by Bath & Body Works Foundation and Worthington Industries.
Hello, and welcome to a very important special, Choose Hope, Breaking the Cycle of Domestic Violence. I'm 10 TV's Angela Ann. As many of you know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. During this special, brought to you by LSS Choices, you will see stories of hope and healing. It's a time for us to highlight this ongoing crisis facing families, but also a time to celebrate the courage, the bravery, and the resilience of those who have been able to stop the cycle of abuse. LSS Choices is the only domestic violence shelter in Franklin County. It is a place of safety that is successful thanks to your generosity. But right now, the shelter is near or at capacity almost every day, while offering services to help survivors get back on their feet and back on their own. That all comes at a cost. Please welcome Dr. Maria Houston from LSS Choices.
Domestic violence does not discriminate. It can impact anyone. We serve individuals from all races, backgrounds, from LGBT community, those from various economic statuses. We also serve men and women. We serve individuals from diverse populations. Intimate partner violence, also known as domestic violence or dating or relationship abuse. Really, it's a pattern of behavior used by one partner to maintain the power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship. The different types of abuse certainly are physical abuse, but there's also emotional abuse and things like financial abuse, and then also sexual abuse, even in a marriage. Choices has a bed count of 144. We have actually been at or above capacity for the past year due to the increased demand. We want to help them heal from the abuse that they've experienced.
Many victims come to LSS Choices and leave as survivors, but first, they have to make the choice to come here. This next story reveals the escalating abuse these victims lived through.
We were crammed in the living room, and it just led to tension and fights and arguing to the point where he was abusive.
Every time I told him that people was calling his phone, I knew he was cheating. He said every time I brought it up, he was going to hit me.
I got divorced when I was 23. I left the day after he pointed a loaded shotgun at me.
And it really just got worse. He started pulling on my hair, trying to make me get in the car and leave, and thankfully my best friend called the police.
Even though I knew I wasn't always being treated right, I accepted it because that's what you were supposed to do.
The physical abuse was just constant, and there was a lot of neglect too.
When you love someone and you care about them, it's hard to get away. It's easy to say that you're leaving and you say you're gonna go, but you never leave. I've been saying that to myself for years. I never left. It's hard.
At first I didn't want to get the police involved. I just wanted him to leave.
I mean, it was just consistently all the time. Being shoved up against a wall, being screamed at, being thrown down on the floor, and then, my stepfather would either rape me or pretend like he was going to and just scare the bejesus out of me. Lots of intimidation, verbal intimidation. I spent most of my childhood just scared out of my mind, and my mother would just intimidate me, knock me around. I lived in constant fear of her and my stepfather. And my father was not able to really be in the picture because he was just so riddled with addiction and mental health issues himself.
I was abused. I was actually put in the hospital. I had my lip busted, chin busted, had a black eye.
Literally in the blink of an eye, he was on top of me, and I was literally having my first sexual experience, and it was horrible. And he told me that if I told anybody, he would do it again in front of my parents and then force me to watch him kill them. And I was 12.
We will hear from these brave women in just a moment. But first, let's hear from those who usually have first contact with the victim after a violent encounter. These people are the front lines who connect victims to critical help.
So many of our SWAT barricades, standoffs, murder-suicides are predominantly domestic related. And it's the power and control, you know, that the abusers are exhibiting, have been exhibiting, and are trying to exhibit, and ultimately may feel like they're about to lose, so they begin to escalate what they're doing. Just looking at the calls that come into our radio room, whether it be a 911 call or a non-emergency line number, but basically calls dispatch for a domestic or a domestic dispute incident. And if you looked at the total of those calls, it basically figured out roughly to between 2 and 3 times every single shift you worked, you were going to be responding on these types of calls. They can be absolutely hysterical. They're scared. They've come down off of an adrenaline rush because they've been trying to save their own lives. Maybe there's drugs and or alcohol involved on both parties. So that creates issues as well. There are so many dynamics that can potentially make a victim feel like they're stuck and there is no way out, you know, and again, that's our goal, is to try to provide them options in working with choices as well to get them the help they need.
We found it important to establish a partnership with the Columbus Police Department. And so with that partnership, we've established, we call it LAP, it's the Lethality Assessment Program. And so when there's a domestic dispute and the police are called out, the police will go there and they complete an assessment.
It's an 11-question screen for first responders, law enforcement. And they will sit down with the victim and go through those 11 questions. And depending on their responses to those questions, the officers are then required to call choices.
We understand that not every victim is going to contact the police. So when the police do come to our site or that individuals are working with them, they have a working knowledge of domestic violence and understand the importance of just the care in working with those individuals.
Strangulation is very high lethality factor, and I tell victims that. I said, you are, and the number is now upwards of 1,000 times more likely for them to become a victim of homicide at the hands of that abuser if we cannot get them, you know, or help them get out of that situation.
You can help victims of domestic violence right now. Your gift tonight of any amount will make a big difference.
Coming up, you will see how the services offered by LSS Choices change lives and the first steps to recovery.
Imagine finding the courage to reclaim your life, and there's always someone ready to help you when you need it. Domestic violence can happen to anyone of any race, age, sexual orientation, gender, or zip code. Please join Bath & Body Works in donating to LSS Choices to support victims and their children. Donate by texting CHOICES to 50155 or visit lssnetworkofhope.org/choosehope. Together we can help victims find a future filled with happiness and hope.
At Worthington Industries, we know domestic violence impacts many people, including our employees. As a people-first company, we teach our managers to recognize the signs and support victims by connecting them to assistance. I've seen firsthand how difficult it is for victims to come forward. And at Worthington, our approach is to help that person find support, security, and hope. That's why we partner with LSS Choices, and hope you will too. Give now by texting CHOICES to 50155.
Once the survivor enters LSS Choices, the healing can begin. See how Choices staff helps clients take the first steps to recovery.
Some individuals that come in are extremely distraught, possibly just coming straight from their crisis here.
The night we got there, within like 20 minutes of me calling the police, they escorted me there. And it was just like a weight lifted off my shoulder once I walked through the door.
I will be in the process of their intake in order to help them be able to manage. The goal that is to help them feel safe, and more than anything to normalize what they're feeling and to give them an idea of what that looks like and what they've been through, and to let them know this isn't their fault.
This could be a cultural shock to them because, one, they may not have known that we existed. And for many victims of domestic violence or survivors of domestic violence, they also feel like they're the only one that's experiencing these things. So they come into the building finding out that there are other people that have had that life experience similar to their own.
We were all afraid. My children were afraid. I was afraid because I'm like, how are we going to do this? Like, I don't have a job. I don't know anybody. I'm not from here. But they answered every question and every concern I had.
With Choices being the only domestic violence shelter in Columbus, I think our services are imperative. In my work here, I've gotten to talk to law enforcement, and they're experiencing some of the increase in domestic violence as much as we are, experience that increase of people coming to us for services. I don't know how anybody would be able to survive that suffered through this if we weren't here.
They wouldn't get the support that they get with Choices. They wouldn't have the safety plan, and they wouldn't have the feeling safe in general if without Choices, because we put in those education, we put in that safety plan, and we put in that empowerment for them, to be able to be stable again and have that self-efficiency and learn to be independent again.
We have counselors that are also based in the community, helping survivors to deal with the depression, the anxiety, the post-traumatic stress that comes from either they were in those relationships and they're dealing with those symptoms, or they left a domestic violence relationship and they're experiencing those symptoms. You do not have to come to the shelter in order to receive services from Choices.
It's so important for people to give to Choices because, for one, a lot of our clients, they come in with nothing. They have nothing starting off. So it may be clothes, it may be shoes, it may be diapers, it may be food. They may need stuff for themselves because they come in with nothing. They were just successful getting away from their abuser, so they might not have the things that they need.
We need that money in order to be able to continue to move forward and to help as many survivors that we can.
Tonight, we have a special opportunity for you to help victims of domestic violence. Go to lssnetworkofhope.org/choose hope.
By now, you have seen and heard why Choices is critical to stopping the cycle of abuse, and how one phone call is all it takes. Your donations will supply the counselors with the help they need for survivors to get back on their feet. Not only is the domestic violence survivor impacted by trauma, but we know entire families are affected. When we return, you will see how Ellis's Choices supports children inside the shelter.
Imagine finding the courage to reclaim your life, and there's always someone ready to help you when you need it. Domestic violence can happen to anyone of any race, age, sexual orientation, gender, or zip code. Please join Bath & Body Works in donating to LSS Choices to support victims and their children. Donate by texting CHOICES to 50155 or visit lssnetworkofhope.org/choose hope. Together we can help victims find a future filled with happiness and hope.
At Worthington Industries, we know domestic violence impacts many people, including our employees. As a people-first company, we teach our managers to recognize the signs and support victims by connecting them to assistance. I've seen firsthand how difficult it is for victims to come forward. And at Worthington, our approach is to help that person find support, security, and hope. That's why we partner with LSS Choices, and hope you will too. Give now by texting CHOICES to 50155.
Welcome back. I'm 10 TV's Angela Ann. Most survivors of domestic violence with children bring their kids with them when they leave an abusive and dangerous situation. They also bring other valuable family members, their pets. Tracy is a family services coordinator at LSS Choices. She's here now to talk about the impact of domestic violence on the entire family.
Where the kids were on the stairs and witnessed, he basically almost killed me. He knocked me unconscious in front of the children and left. He fled the scene. My oldest referred to it as the murder. He thought that I was dead. because it took a while for me to come to. And that was probably the most awful thing they witnessed.
So for 2 weeks, it was like living in the living room, me and my children and him, just crankiness, verbally abusive. It didn't get physical until the day I went to Choices.
They also go through it. You know, their emotions are, this is unfamiliar to me. You know, I don't know where we are right now. They may not understand what's going on.
Kids are used in that domestic violence relationship. Kids themselves may suffer abuse as well. And just like a parent is isolated from family members or friends, abusers will also isolate children from their peer groups as well. Kids may want to participate in sports activities, and because of the control that an abuser has in that relationship, children are prevented from participating in those things.
A lot of times they're scared. The first thing that it is that they're scared. They don't know what to expect. They've been displaced from their life. And so that is very scary, very, very overwhelming. They're nervous, they're anxious. They, you know, depending on their situation, it could be that they're shame-based, that they feel guilty.
Children are very aware of what is going on in the home. Many times survivors come to us and they say, well, we didn't fight until the children went to bed, or we didn't have disagreements, or the kids never saw that he or she laid a hand on me. They were in bed, they were at school, they were next door, or they were with family members or friends. Unfortunately, there's a lot of tension that's going on in the household. Children are very smart, and kids do pick up on the tension that's going on. Kids are very much aware of when a parent is not treating the spouse in their household fair.
Steps are taken to help children thrive at the shelter. Choices staff members keep them from falling behind in school and stay engaged as they try to heal. Once again, here's Tracy to tell us more.
It was so great to the point, like, my kids didn't want to leave. When they found out we finally got a place and we were staying in Columbus, they were happy, but they didn't want to leave Choices because they had their playground right there, and, you know, it was like family.
We help the children and parents navigate their time here, and also link them with appropriate resources.
We have an opportunity to start to break the cycle of domestic violence for them at a young age. They have an opportunity to get linked into services to talk about the trauma that they've dealt with.
Our numbers range from maybe 20 children to right now we have over 80 children. So we have a lot of children depending on the day. Some are here maybe for a night. Others we may have for a whole year. Look at this from their standpoint, because a lot of residents haven't maybe been able to celebrate certain holidays. They've been isolated, they've been confined, they've been punished, consequenced. And so to be able to provide celebrations, what we're all working together to strive for, which is really helping the residents and their children live in the most independent, healthy, functioning way, and whatever we can do to help serve them, to be able to get there and meet those steps and accomplish those steps along the way, to be able to get out of shelter. It just all comes together. Residents can leave their children with us, but they have to stay on the premises here. One of the reasons we encourage the use of our child care room is so the parents can do some self-care, they can meet with a caseworker, they can get some counseling, maybe they can do job searches, anything to take some of the responsibility off of them for taking care of their children, so they can focus on what their goal is and what they need to do to be one step closer to leaving shelter and becoming independent.
It's been such a gift. It's just been such a gift in my life and the lives of my children.
No child should have to grow up not knowing whether their home life is safe. But thanks to the shelter at Choices, these children can experience a new pathway to life, love, and learning. We can't say this enough about how your help right now will ensure these kids can start anew.
Choices relies on the generosity of people just like you to help victims of domestic violence. Your gift tonight means safe shelter, nourishing meals, counseling services, and even a safe place for the family pet.
As Maria just mentioned, LSS Choices helps domestic violence victims cope by sheltering their pets too. Many survivors often don't seek the help because they're too scared to leave beloved pets behind. And only 3% of shelters can take in pets. Choices is one of them.
Columbus Humane does an awesome job of taking care of their pet. You have an opportunity to visit your pet several times a day throughout the week as well as the weekend. And we have experts on staff that are focused on dealing with trauma that humans experience, and Columbus Humane have experts who deal with the trauma that animals experience.
Coming up, hear again from our survivors and how they feel about Choices and the help they receive.
Imagine finding the courage to reclaim your life, and there's always someone ready to help you when you need it. Domestic violence can happen to anyone of any race, age, sexual orientation, gender, or zip code. Please join Bath & Body Works in donating to LSS Choices to support victims and their children. Donate by texting CHOICES to 50155 or visit lssnetworkofhope.org/choosehope. Together we can help victims find a future filled with happiness and hope.
At Worthington Industries, we know domestic violence impacts many people, including our employees. As a people-first company, we teach our managers to recognize the signs and support victims by connecting them to assistance. I've seen firsthand how difficult it is for victims to come forward. And at Worthington, our approach is to help that person find support, security, and hope. That's why we partner with LSS Choices and hope you will too. Give now by texting CHOICES to 50155.
Welcome back to LSS Choices, breaking the cycle of domestic violence. Recovery from any domestic violence situation could take months or years for some survivors. Everyone is given the time, support, and resources to become independent and the space they need to succeed.
Once you speak up and get away, there's definitely the grass is greener on the other side. Definitely. Because I'm seeing it. Definitely.
It makes me emotional. It's been such a gift. It's just been such a gift in my life and the lives of my children. And I was just kind of rebuilt through Choices and am now more capable of dealing with life.
You need to look up Choices. Choices would be the choice you need to make to go get that help that you need. I would never want to see nobody abused in life. Choices got me through.
They literally saved me. I meant it when I said if it wasn't for Choices, I don't think I'd be alive.
The work that we do here matters, that we do help people, and that people do get better, and that their lives do improve. And it's all because they came to us for services.
There's no other shelter here for domestic violence in Franklin County. So, I mean, without the donations, we could probably not even exist, and we wouldn't have that support for our clients.
It's hard to leave the streets or leave what you know to go into shelter. It was hard, but I felt like home there. I felt like home, and I was very well taken care of. I'm forever thankful.
They have to be willing to accept services. We're just the law enforcement leg of this. You know, our work is pretty specific, and we cannot do it alone. You know, our partnerships, you know, Choices, LSS, you know, the court system, we couldn't do this job without them. They're instrumental in getting victims help and getting them involved in the process and keeping them engaged to where, hey, guess what? Maybe we aren't going to be going back out there again.
You start seeing that turning point with individuals. You just start seeing them being able to manage better, to be able to look at a future and see what that looks like for them.
I had to change. And so I know I changed for the better because I feel it, I see it every day. I wake up every day striving to be better, wanting to be a different person. And I know, like, I make myself proud My kids tell me they're proud of me, and it's emotional for me because I was once that broken person, and I feel like I made it.
Our Choices Shelter has been operating at or above capacity for more than a year. We are here to meet the increasing need in our community, but we can't do it alone. We need your help. When you make a donation, here are some of the ways your gift will help. $25 provides snacks for children in the shelter for a day. $60 provides a victim a night of shelter and supportive services. $100 helps take care of a pet for 1 week. And $500 provides safe shelter, prepared meals, and healing care for a family of 4 for 2 nights. If you've already made your gift tonight, thank you. If not, there is still time. Your compassion and generosity will bring hope to those in our community who are experiencing domestic violence. Thank you for choosing hope by making a gift right now. Before we go, I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors. Our Choose Hope Peace sponsors are Bath & Body Works Foundation and Worthington Industries. Thank you to our matching gift sponsor, Big Lots Foundation. Thank you to our Courage sponsors, Bob Evans Farms, Nationwide, and Quantum Health. Our Freedom sponsors are Bread Financial, Huntington, King Business Interiors, and White Castle. Thank you to all of our sponsors whose names you see. We appreciate their support and are so grateful they joined us to choose hope.
If you are in need of help or know someone who is, please call the crisis hotline at 614-224-4663. Seek help because together we can stop the cycle of abuse. The choice to act is now. I'm Angela Ann with WBNS 10 TV. Thank you for joining us, and it's time to choose hope.
Choose Hope. Breaking the cycle of domestic violence together is brought to you by Bath & Body Works Foundation and Worthington Industries.